Hi, I'm Rebecca Reed, a pastry chef, a wife, and a very hardworking mom. Over 10 years ago, I moved to New York City to follow my baking dreams. I studied under some of the greatest chefs in the world, have a master's of the pastry arts, and even won a little show you may have heard of called Chopped Sweets. Here in Florida, my life is crazy busy, but I'm so passionate about what I do. I love to bring my professional experiences into people's home kitchens. Baking can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. At the end of the day, it's all about spreading joy and making the world a sweeter place. Welcome to Plated with me, Rebecca Reed. Hey friends, welcome to my kitchen. I'm really looking forward to having Jon Volk bake with me. He's a celebrity photographer and creative director, and I've admired his work for a while now. I thought it would be fun to bake something that spoke to his Lebanese and Jewish heritage and of course be visually stunning. We're gonna make a savory babka with za'atar. Jon Volk is such an amazing artist. You have definitely seen his work in People magazine, Harper's Bazaar, and many others. Whatever he gives creative direction to truly comes to life. His talent really is pulling the best out of whatever he is taking pictures of. He also just makes me smile. I am so glad to have you, Jon, in my kitchen.
Are you kidding? I am so excited to be here, seriously. This is a dream. I want to be a chef, so I'm slowly getting there by being here with you.
That's perfect because I have this apron for you. So I planned on us making a savory babka.
Yum, I love babka.
Let's get baking. Don't get me wrong, I love sweets, but every now and then I crave something just a little bit more savory. Babka with za'atar does just the trick. A babka can be flavored many different ways, but by making our own homemade za'atar seasoning, this traditional bread is irresistible. So I have all of the ingredients here so we can make our very own spice blend of za'atar.
Amazing. I say za'atar. Is it za'atar?
I thought it was za'atar. I mean, there's definitely an R at the end.
It's definitely silent.
When it's not silent for me. I know I may be the pastry expert around here, but I don't know if I'd call myself an expert on how to pronounce za'atar. I'll leave it to Jon for that.
No, I think it's za'atar. My grandmother, growing up, this is like my favorite spice in the world.
Yeah.
And it's always za'atar. Za'atar.
I feel like it's like a hi-ya when you say it. It's like za'atar.
Yeah, she always says the R is silent. So do you want za'atar?
Now I have been schooled. It's za'atar.
Za'atar.
Not za'atar.
Yeah, well, it's funny. My grandmother makes like flatbread pizza with olive oil, and then she does the za'atar. But then when I'm in Israel, a lot of times I'll get like a Jerusalem bagel, you know, those long skinny bagels, and then they have za'atar spice that you like dip it in. So it's like both, like it's very Middle Eastern. I love it.
I love that because
Yeah.
I think this stuff is great. It's gonna be hard for me to say za'atar instead of za'atar.
Za'atar, whatever. It's amazing in either way.
Za'atar is one of those spice blends that can be made using a lot of the same ingredients in a couple of different portions. It even has regional differences depending on where you might find it in the Middle East, even from family to family. So I'm really just sharing my favorite blend here. This spice blend has a whole bunch of different spices in it. Have you ever made it yourself?
I never have. I always buy it. So this is fun that I get to make it.
So we're gonna break everything down and we'll actually start with some whole spices. First, we'll start out with some coriander and cumin and toast those in our dry skillet. So I will move around the spices just a little bit. You really just want to get these nice and
Do you ever like?
You know what? I definitely do if I'm trying to like flip a whole thing over.
But not for spices.
No, it would be such a
try?
mess. You totally can.
But I won't do what you don't.
No,
do.
that's perfect. Yeah, I think that like swivel is what it's all about. Yeah, you're just trying to like stir everything around.
Nice.
So that way the bottom of things don't start to burn. You're really just cooking these spices until you can start to smell them. They'll become really nice and aromatic. So I'm going to add these toasted spices to my spice grinder. And I'm just gonna press the top of it.
Let's go za'atar.
Let's go za'atar.
Let's go.
So we will get these spices in. And you can see the coriander, there's still a couple of pieces that are, you know, just broken up, but not totally finely ground. And I actually kind of like that for this recipe. Kind of helps everything to like taste awesome, and you get the texture in with it all. It's good stuff.
I love it.
Now it's time to add the rest of the spices, and you don't even have to toast these. You can add the marjoram, and I will get the oregano, and then you can add the thyme.
It's time for thyme.
Time for thyme. And then the last ingredient here, this ingredient is called sumac. It's like one of those—
It's sumac. I'm just kidding. It's like every spice no, I'm kidding.
There's a reason why Jon is such a good photographer. When you're around him, you just can't help but smile and laugh. There's a lot of laughing too. So, sumac. It looks like chili powder or some like ground up spicy thing. But the flavor in it is so different. It's actually kind of cooling. It tastes like very zesty. It's not spicy at all.
Okay, nice.
And it's like one of those really important ingredients in our za'atar. And now all we do is just whisk everything together.
Can I?
You can do it. You also need to toast those white sesame seeds, but I actually like to keep them whole. So as soon as they're nice and toasty, you'll just combine them with the rest of your spice blend. Perfect. That looks like everything is well combined.
So this is like za'atar now?
That's it.
Fully. Wow, that's amazing.
So we have this cute little jar right here too, and I'm just gonna pour this into the jar.
Okay.
And then we're gonna start making our babka.
Awesome, let's do it.
A little history of babka is that it actually came from people using their leftover challah from Shabbat and rolling it up with all kinds of goodies that they had in their kitchen. It also gets its name babka because that's similar to the word for grandmother. And I guess the grannies were just taking that leftover bread, using what they had, and making all kinds of delicious treats. So for making this babka dough, I think it's super important to understand yeast. So let me just explain how yeast works. To get your bread to rise, you need to use yeast. But there's a whole bunch of different types of yeast out there. There's active dry yeast, there's rapid rise yeast, there's bread machine yeast, there is cake yeast, there's a bunch of choices. For our babka today, we're gonna be using the active dry instant yeast, and for that, we need to combine it with our milk before we actually add it to our recipe. Your yeast is an organism, so it is alive, it's alive. So when you add that nice warm milk to it, it is going to come back to life. It will start to convert starches and turn them into alcohol and carbon dioxide. So after you do that reaction, what you are left with is this aerated dough. So you will have these little bubbles that have the carbon dioxide in it along with the alcohol. When you pop that into your hot oven, it is going to expand. This might seem like a bunch of dorky pastry information, but this is so important for your bread to rise and proof and be beautiful and billowy and delicious. You got it? I've got all of our ingredients here to make our babka dough. Have you ever had babka before?
Well, I've never had Za'atar Babka. I've either only had savory, like just plain salty, or sweet, so.
We're gonna change it up. This is gonna be green, it's gonna be awesome, but we've got to get our bread dough going.
Okay, great.
And for this, we're gonna be using some active dry yeast. You can add that to the bowl.
Okay.
Beautiful. I also have a little bit of sugar there.
Oh, sugar?
And then right here is just some whole milk. So we'll add our whole milk, and the milk temperature is actually really like just above body temp. So I don't know if you can feel it. You might not be able to feel it super great through that nice thick bowl.
Warm.
Yeah, but just slightly warm. Here's a little trick to make sure that the temperature of your milk is just right. What I do is just dip my pinky into the milk and see that it feels just above body temperature. If you're about 98.6 degrees, then 100 degrees will just feel slightly warm, and that's exactly what we're going for. I feel like yeast is like the Goldilocks of ingredients. You know, it's like she can't be too hot.
She can't be too cold.
It's gotta be just right.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I think of when I am actually doing this process. So
okay, great.
we're gonna get it Just stir together a little bit more, and we're probably gonna have to wait approximately 5 to 7 minutes for it to start to look kind of bubbly and foamy.
Okay.
And when we see that, we will know that our yeast is alive and activated and it's ready to go into our recipe.
Love it.
I love this method for making this babka dough because it's really nice and easy. It's pretty much a direct mix, which means that you take your activated yeast, milk, eggs, sugar, butter, your flour, you get everything in along with that salt and mix everything together. We're gonna use our bread hook and just mix until everything combines. You see the dough right now? It doesn't look nice and smooth. It kind of looks like shaggy and broken and sort of torn.
Yep.
And I can still see some like small bits of dry ingredients. So everything has not totally come together to form that smooth ball. So we're gonna continue to mix.
Okay.
So it'll just take another couple of minutes. You know that your bread dough is ready when it is nice and smooth. You want to keep mixing until it starts to just kind of smack the side of the bowl. When you hear that sound, you know you're ready. That is looking so good.
You can smell it. It smells so good.
Yes, I know. I'm like, all these recipes, I'm always like, I can smell that there's butter in there.
Yeah.
It just makes me happy.
Oh, love it.
Here's a pro tip. Get a little bit of water on your hands or even spray them with a little pan spray. That way the dough won't stick to you and you'll be able to move it out of the bowl into the next one. We are just gonna shape it a little bit
I love
into
bread.
a ball. Yeah, that's it. And then we are gonna take this and stick that towel right over the top.
Okay.
And let this do its first rise.
Nice.
We'll let our bread dough rise for about an hour. We'll just kind of set it to the side while we make our pesto. Now we are gonna make pesto.
I love it. This is so beautiful. The colors. My friends always actually make fun of me because whenever like something comes to the dinner table or something, I'm like, beautiful. And the servers always make fun of me because it's like roasted carrots. I'm like, wow, it's beautiful.
It's lovely.
This is literally so beautiful.
I think the vibrant colors are just so nice. Like seeing all those different greens, it's just really pretty.
Yeah, I love it.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
But you know what? You are all about beauty because you take gorgeous photos.
Thank
oh my
you.
gosh.
Thank you. It's so much fun. I love it. I've been doing it since I was 15, actually.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and then I shot my first wedding when I was 15 years old and then moved out to LA a few years later, and I've been there ever since, and I love it. It's special being able to make people feel beautiful and, you know, make beautiful things and then, you know, be able to, it's super rewarding.
You know, I can relate to Jon. He gets to be a part of people's special moments like their weddings. So do I, especially when I'm delivering things like wedding cakes. Oh my gosh, all of the birthdays and anniversaries I've been a part of. It's really touching. So I have a bunch of herbs here. And it's kind of just a bunch of variety. We have basil, and I also have parsley. There's oregano and thyme.
Okay.
So typically in pesto, you'll use a pine nut. That's just like classic.
Right.
But since our za'atar has those sesame seeds in
Yeah.
it, we're gonna use sesame paste or tahini, really kind of echo that flavor, get that
Love
same
it.
thing going in there. And I really just love it.
I love tahini, it's my favorite.
For our pesto, we're gonna start out with plenty of garlic. There's 2 whole garlic cloves in here. There's also some basil, parsley, and oregano. And for the fresh herbs, you can use whatever you happen to have on hand. We are going to pulverize this a little bit. Oh, we have to get our lemon juice in there.
Of course.
Yes.
Now, it's way better to use fresh than store-bought lemon juice, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're a
think
chef,
so.
you kind of have to say that.
Yes, but I mean it.
You do?
I mean it. Yeah, fresh
Are you
lemon
sure?
juice. Yeah,
I'm just
I really do.
kidding.
That's my final answer.
promise?
I really do. I really mean it.
Yeah.
I would reach for the fresh lemon first.
Fresh is better.
We're gonna grind this up.
Okay.
If you don't want to make your own pesto, you can always just use a store-bought pesto for this recipe. Once everything is really nice and chopped up,
Nice.
we are going to add our tahini.
Beautiful.
We're gonna add our cheese. We're gonna mix this up a little bit more, and then we'll get all that olive oil in. All right.
That's looking more like pesto.
Yes, but it just needs that olive oil in it.
It smells amazing.
Right? It smells so good. I think it's a garlic. It's like that garlic really gets me first.
Yeah, it's so good.
Your olive oil in. And continue to mix just until all of this comes together.
So good.
That's it. And you know, if I was gonna use this in a pasta dish or something like that, I might add even more olive oil to it.
Okay.
But I want this to be a little bit more thick because we are gonna spread it in this nice thick layer in between our babka dough.
Okay, amazing, I love it.
Our pesto is ready, and so is our dough. It's proof. Now it's time to roll it out and get everything assembled. This is one of my favorite parts. Our babka dough, it rose, it looks really good. Look at that.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Now it's time to shape the babka.
The fun part.
Yes, and we're gonna get all of those swirls of that pesto we just made in there.
I have to try this. Can I try this?
Yes, oh my gosh, please do.
It smells so good.
You just taste all of the herbs in there.
Wow.
And then you said you liked garlic.
That's like a burst of flavor. That is so good.
And we haven't even baked this whole thing yet.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting so hungry. Like my mouth is starting to sound like it's time.
I love bread. I could literally eat bread for the rest of my life and that's all I could eat.
So good.
It's so good. So we're gonna roll it out?
Yes.
Nice.
And actually, I'm gonna have you roll it out.
Let's go.
Let's go.
This is such a process. It's amazing how many steps there are to it, but it's super simple when you just break it down.
Yeah, I bet you feel that way about photography. It's like one of those things that if a layperson just like walked up to you and wanted to learn something about photography, you'd really have to break everything down into steps.
Yeah.
And if you were able to talk about every little thing, then of course it would make sense.
Totally. Well, it's also like a lot of times when we're shooting a campaign for something, we'll start 6 months beforehand in preparation, and then it's so rewarding seeing it in a magazine or a billboard 6 months later.
Yes.
But all the steps leading up to it are so important.
You will not have to wait 6 months for this babka. We'll roll out the dough. I like to spread just a little bit of flour on my countertop so that way it doesn't stick. I'll put a little bit more on top so that way the dough doesn't stick to my rolling pin either. We'll roll it out into a nice long rectangle, maybe 12 inches by 15 or so. We'll get it nice and even, then we'll spread our pesto on top.
Wow.
I have this offset spatula, so I'm just gonna kind of smooth everything out, maybe add a little bit more. And you can smooth it out and then just don't put any about an inch from your right side.
Okay.
That will help our bread to kind of seal together.
Okay.
If you have the pesto all the way there, then when you try to get everything to pinch together, all of those liquidy, pesto-y ingredients are going to make it really hard to close.
Okay. What about up here?
You can go all the way to that end. Look at you, you're doing a great job. I knew you would be so good at this bread because I know you make cinnamon rolls and it's so similar.
Yeah, I love making cinnamon rolls for the holidays or sticky buns. And this is basically just a savory one, yeah?
Yes, that's it.
How's that?
That looks fantastic.
Perfect.
Perfect. Next, we can't forget
Our homemade
spice blend.
za'atar.
Yes, our za'atar. So we will just sprinkle it
Wow.
kind of generously because I really like this stuff. All over everything.
I love it.
I cannot wait for you to try it. I hope it tastes like something that brings
My
you back to your
childhood.
childhood. Yes.
Yeah, it probably will.
Because you know what, honestly, it's so hard to make things that people have these like really nostalgic memories with.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to like one up somebody's grandma.
Oh, totally.
Right? Like
totally.
that's a hard thing to do. And you also don't want to like not live up to her.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be making this for her this Christmas, literally.
I can't wait to hear
Yeah,
how
I'll
much
send
she
you a
likes
picture.
it.
Yeah.
I'm happy I get to make this bread with Jon because I know he's gonna appreciate the beauty of it. Next, we roll everything up into a nice long roll. Look at this, you're doing great. And I like how you start kind of from one side and move to the other.
Is that how you would do it?
Yeah, you can kind of tuck
What I
and
like to
pull it.
hear. It's what? Oh, okay.
Like-
Not quite as.
Kind of. So I almost like tuck and like stretch the dough, like pull it a little bit.
To make it tighter?
Yes, and then you're gonna get even more swirls in it. So like maximum pesto layers.
Wow, amazing. How's that?
So good. That looks awesome. What I do is just kind of pinch the dough together.
Okay.
And I'll pinch the very end too to just seal in all of that pesto.
Okay, amazing.
That looks so good.
That looks great.
We'll cut the center of it and we'll cut it almost all the way through, but we'll leave one end partially attached. That way we can fold over the two sides and make that beautiful babka shape. And I like to just kind of put one side on top of the other, and you can continue to do that.
Okay.
Yep. And then maybe one more.
Like a
That
braid.
looks so good.
Pretty.
Yes. So beautiful. And then this is so nice. I'm gonna tuck in those ends just a little bit.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna bring my pan nice and close because this is gonna want to kind of separate and fall apart.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use this little bench scraper and connect everything and get it into our dish. Here we go. Actually, I want this right over here. Get this right in. Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Wow, that looks so good.
Yes. We'll let this babka dough rise again in the loaf pan for about another hour. I check to see if it's ready by just pressing the dough. It's good to go when it leaves a little indent of my finger. I know it's perfectly proofed and ready to go in the oven. It'll bake at 350 for about 35 to 45 minutes. We've got our babka fresh out of the oven.
It looks amazing.
It smells so good in here.
It smells so good. Literally, this is the smell growing up, going to my grandma's house. I love
Makes
it.
my heart so happy.
Yeah.
I love that Jon thinks that it smells like his grandma's house in here. It's great when I get to connect with people on that emotional level through my food.
Wow, we're actually about to plate something on Plated with
Yes.
Rebecca Reed.
Yes, we're plating it.
Wow.
You are gonna see all of our layers and our swirls in here.
That is amazing.
I see all of those like beautiful little crevices with the pesto, with the little pieces of za'atar in there. It's time to just drizzle it with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and of course, another little sprinkle of our fresh za'atar blend. And then the best part, it's time to eat it.
This looks amazing. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow. That is amazing. I love it.
Bread just makes me happy.
Seriously, I could eat this whole loaf just right now.
We can.
We can?
We actually can.
Well, let's do
Totally
it.
do. Yeah, you totally can.
And I always have it in my teeth though after I eat it.
Right.
You do too.
This bread is so worth getting a little green stuff in your teeth for. I smiled so much today, and I know that's because Jon was with me in the kitchen. And thank you for joining us too. I'll see you next time on Plated with me, Rebecca Reed.
Rolling. My favorite part of the process was probably rolling it up and like, wait, let me do it again. What did I even say? I'm hot. It's like, when you make a mistake, you get hotter. Okay. Rebecca is so much fun. She's my Za'atar queen. It goes here. I'm always doing this too for model, so.
Yeah, you're
how's
like,
that?
I know. It just cracked me up because he was full body smelling.
It does. Okay, I'm gonna keep eating. This was the best. Thanks for having me.